Hello friends, welcome back to our Unruly Nest. My name is Amber and I'm so glad that you found me here today. Today we are actually going to wrap up our tips and tricks little mini series on how I helped my 3-year-old with CAS or childhood apraxia of speech gain speech. And so if this is the first video that you are seeing, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Amber. I'm a stay-home mom in the lovely state of Kansas. I have 2 children. We do homeschool. We are a secular homeschool. My daughter is 9.5. She will be 10 in September. She's going into 4th grade, and my son is 3, special needs and highly medically complex. So that's just a very quick summary. If this is your first video here, I highly encourage you to go back and watch the introduction to his health journey and then to watch part 1 and part 2. Otherwise, this might not make a whole lot of sense, but that is the end of the introduction, if you will. I'm going to assume that if you are watching this, you've already watched the other videos, so we're just going to wrap this up. So, okay, a quick summary. Actually, before I do that, I want to remind all of you amazing humans watching this that I am not a speech therapist. I have many skills, many talents, many flaws, but speech therapy, I am not a speech pathologist. What an amazing field. Not my training. I'm just a mom who's been at this for a good long while. So I feel like I have a lot of valuable tips, but again, the entire purpose of this is just to share with you what really helped my son in case it might help your child as well. But in no way, shape, or form should this be considered medical advice or take place of you consulting with and working with a licensed, qualified speech therapist that can help you with your child. Okay? So now that the legal disclaimers are out of the way, I want to just quick summary, okay? So quick recap. The very first video, the ready, set, go with the anticipated pause to get them, used to that, and then to kind of prompt them to encourage them to fill in that intentional, long, awkward gap there, the pause. Exclamatory words, you're on the swing, you're on the slide, wee, yay! Or if you watch the video, my awesome speech therapist undid all my hard work and taught my toddler to say no to everything. Exclamatory word that's fun to say, right? No. Single, simple words. Find something that interests your child. For my son, it was farm animals, and then it was all animals, and you want to be in front of them so they can see your face like this, and very animated. A cow says moo. That's right. So they're watching your mouth, so they're learning how to move their mouth because they want to imitate you. But it's a single word, moo, so that it is easy for them to attempt. So that was the next one that we did. Then after that, it was a way to communicate so that your child does not get frustrated and have unnecessary meltdowns. Let's face it, toddlers already have meltdowns. The sucker isn't round enough, so I'm gonna cry for an hour. It's toddlers. So if they don't have a way to communicate, for my son, it was sign language, but there is the PIC system, the picture exchange system. And I realize now in hindsight, I kept on calling the third option, the AC device. It's definitely called an AAC device. So that's what I was talking about, but you want to give your child a way to communicate. For my son, it was sign language, it was signs. It worked beautifully, but definitely figure something out so that you can avoid those super frustrated meltdowns. And then touch cues or tactical cues, I did cover those in part 2. Those also worked wonderfully for my son. I do know that tactile cues are used more with CAS or dyspraxia, depending on what it's called where you live. But they do use them in just standard speech therapy as well. And they were very, very helpful for my son. Okay, so starting part 3, here we go. I have my notes over here on my laptop. Again, we're not even gonna pretend like I don't. Okay, so my next tip for you of what helped my son gain speech, you guys, music. Music, music, music. Yeah, music. I did mention in a previous video, many children with speech delay can sing before they can talk. I'm not a speech therapist. I'm not even going to try to explain it to you. Google it. Ask your speech therapist. It's extremely true. But yes, music. So we kind of stumbled upon it, to be honest. There's like a music class it's about 30 minutes from us now, but when we were living in the next town over, it was a kinder music class. And so just in an attempt to socialize my son, just to get him around some other kids his age, we were taking him to kinder music class. And what that did for us was that showed us his absolute love for music. And because he was so excited about something, it gave us the opportunity then with his speech therapist to create something that would engage him, that excited him enough to make him want to talk. So for him, the very, very first one, and he heard it at kinder music, that's where it started, the Itsy Bitsy spider. And so how we used it, the Itsy Bitsy spider went, and again, we use that pause, that anticipation pause. And I would go, and he'd go, up, yeah, up, the water spout, down comes the rain and wash the spider, so we used then music, nursery rhymes, but with adding in both the hand movements, the repetition of the song, and then purposefully, sorry guys, end of the day, mom fog. Here it is. Words are hard. Thoughts are hard. I've got to get a t-shirt, I swear. Okay. But yeah, so putting in those pauses intentionally just really encouraged him. He was excited because he loved music. I cannot tell you how many times we probably did the Itsy Bitsy spider 1,000 times a day. No joke, for probably a year. But we did it in a way that encouraged him to engage with us. So I'm going to go back to what I mentioned earlier. You want them looking at you. You want them to see your face. You want to add any hand movements that you can. And then you want to start adding in those pauses. So row, row, row your boat is one of his other favorite ones. Wheels on the bus. But for example, with row, 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 row your boat gently down the stream. And I'd pause and he'd go, merrily, 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 life is but a dream. And he'd go, dream. Because they've heard it so many times, they know the words. It's that same concept as the ready, set, go. So music works so well for my son. As a matter of fact, I ran out and got this before I started to film. We made this for him in speech. It's called a finger play songbook. I wanted to show you this because this is how much music sparked talking, sparked speech for my son. So you're going to see his favorites in here. Row, row, row your boat. And then Twinkle, twinkle, little star. And we made these little stars here. Remember when I told you, you want something that engages their whole body. So pick nursery rhymes that have these, the ability to do hand motions with them. But this was twinkle, twinkle, so twinkle, twinkle, little star, right? So so we did that one. And then the bee song, bringing home a baby bumblebee, but again, he had to get his little bee out, and that's bzz, bzz. So it creates all these opportunities for speech in an exciting, fun, engaging way. So we did the bee song, the fish song, if you don't know the fish song, all the fish are swimming in the water, swimming in the water, swimming in the water, but different colors. You can see they're all like crinkled up. They're well-loved, guys, but just laminated and cut out. So for songs that have hand motions like the Itsy Bitsy Spider or Wheels on the Bus, but for songs, right, that don't, this created, actually, we did create little spiders for the Itsy Bitsy Spider, but you still get the idea, you know. So it's just something then to engage them, to encourage them to talk, and then Wheels on the Bus. So hopefully that gives you some ideas, but music was absolutely one of the biggest one. Wheels on the Bus, guys, have gotten us through some really difficult doctor's appointments, lab draws, just anything to distract them and try to pull their focus to something else, which of course for my son is speech. And if you're here, that's probably something that you're struggling with your child as well. So nursery rhymes, music, make sure they are looking at you, make sure they can see your mouth. This is going to be the theme of today's video, okay? Make sure they can see you talking and get down on their level, very animated and excited, and just really pull them in and engage them. And then you're going to add in those anticipated pauses to give their little brains a chance to really think and really concentrate and to find the words and to say it first. And then it will become old hat like it is for my son now. And I say, ready, set, go. That's what he does. Ready. I don't even get ready out and he goes, set, go. But it took us over, 2 years of that, and now it's nothing, but it does work. Music is just such an amazing tool. Okay. Let me scroll down here. Okay. The last main tip that I want to give you is along the same lines of this, but for my son, even now, if somebody says, what is your son's most favorite thing? Guys, it's reading, it's books. And if you're hearing that and you're like, nope, I'm shutting this off, my child gets frustrated, they won't even let me read to them, keep listening, because we're gonna actually talk about that. Okay, I would have never known that my son loved books had it not been for his amazing speech therapist. I started out with him the same way that I started with my daughter. We started reading when, just an infant. And so what I couldn't figure out is he got a little bit older and a little bit bigger. I would open up a book, he would sit on my lap, I would start to open up a book. He seemed excited. He seemed like he wanted me to read to him. And then I would start and he would shut the book and climb down. And I'm like, but you're supposed to read to your child every day, which I love books. I'm a total book nerd. That's why I like talking about curriculum so much. I'm just a big academia nerd, but I digress. It was so hard for me to understand why he seemed like he legitimately wanted, he would climb in my lap and he would be excited. And as soon as I would start to read to him, he would be, Mom, peace, I'm out. And he would be climbing down and that was it. And I was so frustrated. And a speech therapist helped me understand that it couldn't hold his attention because he couldn't understand. I'm trying to read to him the way that I did my child that had no speech delay, that didn't have all these medical complexities. And so my son was just lost. So what she had me do, so this is the real tip here. This is what she had me do, and it changed everything for us. She would have me, I told you it was the theme of today's video, she would have us sit like we are looking at one another. I would sit him in front of me or in my husband's lap or in my daughter's lap, and I would sit in front of him like a storyteller. And then I would read and turn the pages, making sure that he could see my mouth, he could see my face, he could watch me reading and talking. And that was the first step to keeping him there, a minute rather than 20 seconds. But I wanted more than that. I wanted more than a minute. So I did that. Speech therapist said, Amber, have him face you so he can watch your mouth. Oh, okay. Did that. Did it fix everything? No. And she's like, well, are you still trying to read the book? Well, yeah, I'm still trying to read the book. She's like, nay. Oh, there's more to this. Okay. He can't this is what she told me. He can't sit there and listen to you just read the book because he's not processing, he's not understanding what you're saying. He just wants to look at the books. So what we did, so here it is, guys. You start with having them sit across from you so they can see your mouth, they can see your face. They're looking at the book, right? But it's down a bit lower, or it's maybe over here or up a bit higher. You don't want to start with just trying to read the book because you need to keep them engaged. So we would take a book. I should have grabbed one to use as an example. Here, I'll just use his music book. So I would open up the book and I'd say, oh, look, do you see the boat? Do you see the blue water? Oh, so pretty. Turn the page. Do you see the green page? Oh, it's so pretty. Is there a pocket? Turn the page. What do you see? I see stars. Let's count. 1, 2, 3. Oh, do you want to turn the page? And I would go as fast as he would need at first. And that got him sitting there for 3 to 5 minutes. And so we would just discuss, well, I would talk, he would listen, but while watching my mouth, I would just, mention what was on the page. What was I looking at? What colors was I seeing? And if he was wanting to, okay, we would turn the page. And then I would just use this time to just basically kind of create a little makeshift story about what he was seeing on the page. And that kept him in the seat, guys. And then in time, I would read 1 or 2 words on the page and then, oh, okay, we're going to turn the page. And eventually, you can see where this goes. Eventually, as his receptive speech got better, as he started to understand, I was then able to read the book to him. But you have to meet them where they're at. You have to start with where they're at. And where he was at was needing to see my face, see my mouth, and just quickly notice things like, oh, pretty colors. Okay, turn the page. And that's just what we did over and over and over. And then I would slowly just add more and more, the actual story, maybe a few of the words. Now he will actually the book that is coming to mind is Room on the, Room on the Broom. If you guys have ever read it, it's a very wordy, long book, but he's been super interested in it. He found it on my daughter's bookcase and he would want to read it. But the minute we would sit down and I would start trying to read it, he was like, forget it, no, because it's a pretty wordy book. So we started with, just, oh, do you see the witch in a hat? Okay, turn the page. Oh, look at the broom. Did the broom break? And you're going to work in those exclamatory words and sounds just to keep them engaged. Do you see the green frog? Turn the page. Never mind, there's a million other things on that page. It was just to keep him engaged, to kind of hook him. And then in time, we were able to then discuss more of what we were seeing. And then in time, we were able to read 1 or 2 lines. And then eventually now, he will sit in my lap. He doesn't have to look at my mouth anymore. And he will just let me read the entire book to him. And I still put in some of those pauses and he'll fill in those gaps. So it's still a speech activity, but it's meeting him where he's at. So guys, music and books are honestly my 2 last big tips that helped specifically my son gain speech. So I have a couple more things here. If you watch the first 2 videos, part 1 and part 2, at the end, I gave you kind of just like a bonus tip trick. Now, because if you actually manage to watch this in all 3 parts, I want to thank you in a way. So I'm going to share a little story with you. And then if I can manage to figure it out in editing, I'm going to put a clip of my son at the end of this video. So stay tuned here. Okay. Let me just scroll through my notes here where I'm at, and then I'm going to give you these last couple of tips because I find them incredibly valuable. So to summarize, the bonus tip in part 1 was the lip and tongue tie, but not the lip and tongue tie. It was you need a pediatric dentist to resolve those for you. Do not trust just a pediatrician. I'm sorry, not sorry. Don't come for me. Not even your speech therapist, pediatric dentist or a pediatric orthopedic surgeon. They're the only people truly qualified to make that call. Then the second one, at the end of the part 2 video, I shared my friend's story about her son. It turns out it was his hearing, and they didn't catch it until he was 2. Yes, he passed his newborn hearing test. Yes, he passed his standard ENT audiologist sitting in a booth. It was the inner ear measuring sound waves that they caught the hearing issue. He had a cochlear implant put in, and it resolved his speech issue. So here we go. Last ones. The story. Do you remember me telling you the part about I worked really hard, to never tell my children no when they were super young? I would reframe it as not for you, because I didn't want a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old that ran around going no, no, no all the time. Child psychologist. That's how they trained us. Well, then after all that hard work, here came our speech therapist, and she said, exclamatory word, no is a good fun one. We're going to teach him to say no. And now I'm like, ugh. Yeah, okay. Well, here's another one of those stories, but it's a tip for you. So the first part of the tip, and then I'll share the story, is get your child drinking out of a straw cup. A straw. That's right. They switched my son to a straw sippy cup. It was the Honey Bear. He was 8 months old, and he went to exclusively drinking from a straw. And I'm not a speech therapist. I'm not even going to try to explain it. Just trust me. Oral motor skills, get him drinking out of a straw. But imitation is really important. And for them to practice, using those oral motor skills. Man, words are hard at the end of the day. They're hard all the time. But really using those oral motor skills. And so imitation, watching you, right? That's what we were just discussing, when you're reading to them, when you're doing music and things, and they have to be able to see your mouth. That's because they're learning how to imitate you. And that's a huge part of speech. However, where the straw part is really important is you want them to practice those oral motor skills without it feeling like work. That's what makes bubbles so much fun, right? That's why they want you to get your child blowing bubbles or drinking from a straw. Yeah. So, funny story. I was that mom that would not let her children play with their food or their drinks. And what does every kid like to do? Blow bubbles in their drinks with a straw. And as soon as my daughter started doing that, I would tell her, nay, we do not play with our food. We do not play with our drinks. We drink. Did the same thing with my son, of course. And here comes a speech therapist that says, I want you to encourage him to blow the biggest bubbles. I don't care if they overflow from the cup. I want you to encourage him to constantly blow bubbles in his straw, in his cup. Huh? Oh, guys, it was so humbling. I had to let so much perceived control go. I learned a lot about myself, and now I'm the mom that doesn't even worry about that stuff. Oh, you want to blow bubbles in your milk? My son actually can't have milk. He drinks an almond milk, but oh, you want to blow your milk all over the counter? Sure, great. Here you go. Here's a towel. Clean it up. I just had to let it go. But honestly, it sounds so random. That's why I didn't include it in, the main tips. But in hindsight, it absolutely helped my son gain speech, which is just mind-blowing. So, friends, if you are here, if you are watching this video right now, it is most likely because you are worried or you're struggling with a child that may have a speech delay and you're looking for ways to help them. And if that is the case, then as a thank you, I am going to hopefully, if I can figure it out in editing, include a video of my son, which, blowing in his milk cup just last week. And I was able to film it so that I could hopefully put it in this video as a thank you to you guys. But if you're here, before I cut to the clip of him blowing bubbles, I just want you to know that it is okay to be scared. It's okay to be struggling with this. I was there, and I am hoping that you will believe me when I tell you, because people tried to tell me and I didn't listen to them and I suffered for nothing. because I was stubborn. Guys, you didn't do anything wrong. And if you think that you somehow failed your child, you did not. Your child is perfect, and the speech will come. It will come. And you are exactly who they need. And the fact that you're here means that they're the luckiest kid in the world because they have you. And don't ever forget that. You are enough. Exactly who you are, exactly how you are. And everything is gonna be all right. Okay? So hopefully I can figure out how to put the clip in of him blowing his bubbles. But guys, that's it. Music. Have them looking at you, doing the nursery rhymes. Leave those long pauses in there. Books, that was the big one. Have them so they can see your face. And just remember, don't try to sit and just read to them. Forget it. They can't. Do the things that we already went through. It will be a game changer for you, I promise. And then slowly work on building the attention span and gaining more actual reading. And then just any opportunity that you can, do things with your mouth and try to get them to imitate you with their mouth in a fun way. They forget, they don't even realize that they're working on things, oral motor skills to gain speech. And then, believe it or not, give them a straw and a drink and let them blow all the bubbles that they can and laugh and make it a wonderful, fun time. And you guys, your child is going to gain speech and it's going to be great. And you're going to be thankful that you did all the things that you did. It all is worth it. But none of this is to replace working with a talented speech therapist. Really, there are lots of things that have helped my son. I put together videos of the things that I think helped us the most at home. But in the end, all these things came from our fantastic speech therapist. So don't be afraid to get them evaluated. Don't be afraid to get them help or services if they need it. It does not mean that they are going to need speech forever. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. It just means that they need a little help, and that is okay. I hope you all are having a wonderful week. Thank you for stopping by. If you found something of value in this video, please like and subscribe and come back and see us. My next video will be on homeschool curriculum off of Amazon. Bye, friends. Good bubble blowing, buddy. Yay! Yay! Good bubble blowing.
Bubble blowing.
Bubble blowing. Good job, buddy. Good bubble blowing.